The only Missourian ever convicted of causing a catastrophe is asking for parole.
James Scott has been in prison for more than 3 decades for his role in the flood of '93 in Quincy. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon looks into his chances of being granted a release.
1993.
I'll never forget it.
The type of flood you only see once a century, and the levee breaking in Quincy on the Illinois-Missouri border sends water into farms, homes, and streets.
That levee was safe.
Former Quincy Mayor Chuck Schultz describes the shock the community felt.
So we were heartbroken, but to find out that it was intentional was really bitter.
The blame falls on James Scott, who was supposed to be placing sandbags to protect the levee, but instead was found guilty of purposely breaking it and causing 14,000 acres of damage. Sentenced to 20 years to life in prison, Scott served 33 years before getting a hearing before the Board of Parole Wednesday, which appeared to go in his favor.
Everything the board said was pointing in a positive direction.
Scott maintains his innocence in the flood, but admitted to several prior offenses of arson and burglary. In his corner today was staunch defender Adam Pitluck, author of Damned to Eternity, a book chronicling Scott's case.
Society was probably better off with him off the streets for all these years. But if they could see now what I've seen and the transformation, that's what I'm trying to advocate. I hope they could see that. This is not the same person. He's not only not a threat, he is going to be productive wherever he lands.
Former Cole County prosecutor Bill Tackett explains to me that Scott's unique charge will be hard to come back from.
It's very difficult to be charged or convicted with this because it takes a catastrophe, obviously, to happen, and that's difficult to do.
But knowing what you do about the case, what are his chances of getting out on parole right now?
That's the kind of thing that when you're considering releasing them into the community, that's very, very difficult to do.
It'll be several weeks before we hear the parole board's decision. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon.